friends, and welcome to the Blue Otter League Diamond Division. Super excited to be jumping into what is going to be a very long series for me because I am massively sick, but luckily I am embarking on this journey as we have Khan versus Elysium alongside the wonderful Go for Eno and Wookie Monster on production. How you doing tonight?
Uh, I'm also a little sick because the roommates got a little bit of a cough
Mm.
that got into me. However, though, taking a look at the pick and ban right here, we see we've already gone through all the bans here. It's got me the B1 Udyr, interestingly enough, something we haven't been seeing a ton of in terms of competitive meta, but that is going to be the priority here for Khan. The other side, Elysium, more than happy to lock in the Ashe and Viego here, looking like they're wanting to set up for a bit of a reset train here on this Viego, because Ashe is great for setting up those reset trains with that Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Kind of de-emphasizing the damage out of the AD carry position. Instead, going to be front-loading it onto the jungle and maybe top lane as well if this cannon hover comes through. Really liking the picks here from Elysium's side. But one thing to note here is that this Udyr is a really nice flexy pick from Khan, just because will be my fourth game in a row, I think, casting an Udyr today, and every single one of them actually went to the top lane.
I mean, it's not unheard of, yeah. I'm just so much more used to seeing in the jungle. I'll take your word for it because you've seen it twice today, as you've mentioned, or 4 times.
Yeah, this is my fourth game of Udyr today. It's wild.
Oh, lordy. Yeah, a lot of the other junglers kind of get on some nerfs. I mean, I've been seeing a metric ton of jungle Pantheon in my flex queue games. I'm just like, all right, yeah, sure. But with that aside, we are in the second round of pick and ban. The Olaf being banned away, not wanting to have that degeneracy top lane. I know it goes pretty hard against the cannon. Against most top laners, really. Like, having a 1v1 the Olaf is just so obnoxious. We'll see what the lock-in R4 is for Elysium here. I'm expecting a support so you can save the counter pick in the mid lane for last. But we'll see if they want to prioritize the mid lane here, because there has been a tiny bit of pinching in the mid lane here with turrets.
I would agree with that. I do think that probably this is going to be the support, although honestly, we could be seeing an Ashe support from Aerocross. Even though it's certainly fallen down in priority and value, it's still something that I see occasionally picked up. And while we do see the Alistar and the Leona hover, the dream is still alive until it's actually picked up. But there we go. Leona for Aerocross, looking to follow up with extra CC on top of the Cannon and the Ashe.
Yeah, definitely got a lot of great fights set up here from Elysium. The Leona also going to function well into the Rakan, because when the Rakan dashes in, you can queue up the Shield of Daybreak stun and just stun that Rakan and make him take a lot of damage on that all-in. See how that pans out in laning phase here. The Gnar being hovered would go decently well against the Kennen. Not like the hardest counter in the world, but you are able to hop on top of that fellow Yordle. I think Kennen's a Yordle, right?
Yeah, I think Kennen's definitely a Yordle. I don't really know what else he would be.
Be.
Maybe a literal lightning rat, kind of like Twitches into Yordle.
I don't know. Yordles in the lore are just kind of up in the air because it's like,
yeah,
it's
this
just
is
like,
a Yordle,
so
who knows?
Magical, like, dimensional beings that just pop out in existence everywhere. But there's also just a bunch that are kind of living their daily lives. It's like, okay, sure. Jace being hovered would be going mid against the Orianna. Nico, Syndra, what are you gonna lock in here? I mean, those are all pretty stock standard mid lane picks. And it's going to be the Syndra. Yeah, Syndra.
Ultimately, a good call. I just saw the Orianna versus Syndra mid-match as well, so this is a very familiar draft, and I think it shows that a lot of people have their ears to the ground regarding the meta, and they're picking what is strong. That being said, happy to see that it's going to be Sir Ryzel onto the Udyr with Alphaeade taking the Gnar top. Definitely a little bit of shift from before.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be that Udyr in the jungle here for Sir Ryzel, like you mentioned. We'll see what tempo they can set here, because Udyr in the jungle, very much so about, like, you do a lot of farming early game, you can definitely look for ganks, and then you look to just kind of out pressure the other jungler. It's not gank city like a J4, say, but it's more like you can do a decent amount of ganking, but you also just kind of out farm the enemy jungler. They can get scuttles, you have prior over early objectives. That'll be oh lord, a little bit of a nostril back up there. That'll be a good like to get yourself started off in this game if you are Elysium. You're starting Khan.
This is going to be quite the journey. I think this is going to be a banger game as well. One that can easily lead to prolonged fights because of the Viego resets, but the solid engage that Elysium has on their side makes me very excited to see how they approach these neutral objective fights. Meanwhile, Khan, while they do similarly have the ability to go disruptive, start things early on with a Recon quickness or an Oriana shockwave, I think that they're a little bit more temporally reliant on ensuring that Varus has their arrows charged up, that Gnar has the ability to go into rage form, those kinds of things.
And they have a bit of wombo themselves here because you have an Oriana and two great champions to bring it on in that Gnar and also the Rakan here. So we'll see if they're able to get those huge 5k wombo combos in these later fights. Because it'd be a hell of a way to start off fights here. And you definitely do want to be keeping a lot of these Elysium members at bay here. You don't want the cannon getting on top of you. You don't want the go getting on top of you. If you're able to keep those two out, it's really just Leona CC locking you. But a Leona without follow up in team fights is not the most threatening.
No, I would agree with that. Leona is one of those champions that really needs the whole crew around her to be able to make the most out of Solar Flare and whatnot. But I will say, between the Ashe and the Syndra, there is going to be plenty of follow-up, even across the wall and things like that. So you really do have to check all your angles if you're on Khan Esports, because you do not want to be giving over those free picks, especially prior to, like I said before, those neutral objective fights that I think Elysium really want to try to make the center of their game plan.
And definitely very explosive objective fights here. You got the Slicing Maelstrom, you got the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Solar Flare, and you are definitely going to be a little bit on the side of banking on Viego resets in these fights. Yes, you do have some pretty good upfront damage. You do have some decent DPS as well with Ashe, but main game plan here, if you are Elysium, is get this Viego and get it rolling in those team fights.
Kennen top versus Gnar is actually not something that I get to see a whole lot of, even though it is kind of the lane that both of these champions call home. I really don't think that these are champions picked into one another all that frequently. Can you give me a rundown of what this is going to look like?
I mean, the Gnar has some pretty sick all-in potential, especially pre-6. If you're able to go in and get that Megaform wall-up on down, be able to CC lock this Kennen, who's normally able to keep other top laners at bay with that Lightning Rush, just giving you that nice dash out. However, Gnar has that hop, and you do have the range as well when you are in mini Gnar form. The Kennen should outrange you for the better part of this game, but once you get enough levels, you should have range to match his auto attacks here. But by then, you know, if it's pure auto v auto trading, the Gnar should be winning unless it's a split push Kennen build. I don't think we're going to see the split push Kennen build, so I'm banking on Aphrodite. Should have asked how to pronounce that. Alphade.
I always go with Alpheidae every single time that I cast them, and I haven't had them complain to me just yet, so maybe this is the day.
Where they aren't watching the cast. If they are, that is kind of against the rule. Sometimes the fans will correct you in chat.
Yeah, I remember that for the longest time, I couldn't pronounce Shaban, which I guess is like an Irish or Celtic name, Gaelic name, I think. And I was just Siobhan the entire time, and they were so bad at me because I usually don't check chat because my poor internet usually would die if I was trying to watch the Twitch stream as well as the game itself.
Yeah, especially if Twitch is absolute awful video player. But champions have been locked in here, and we are in the spectator delay, so no more ifs, ands, and buts. We know where everybody's going.
Yep, we know where everybody's going. We know what the big hotspots on the map are going to be. Super excited to dive into this series. It's my first time here casting Blue Otter Lake Diamond for the season, actually, and so this will be a good way to get a feel for with the level of gameplay that we have. I'm sure it's going to be competitive. I'm sure it's going to be wild. Elysium Dawn versus Khan Esports A about to take to the Rift. We'll see you guys on the other side of this break. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Rift for game number one between Con Esports A and Elysium Dawn.
Welcome to
Go for we
Celebration
saw,
Gaming.
I think, a pretty solid draft from both of these teams with clear identities, but there's some big matchups to watch out for. However, before we get any of those
30
individual lanes
seconds until
underway, we gotta
minions
see whether or
spawn.
not Elysium Dawn's 5-man to the bot side will lead to anything.
Yarg is back in this brush. See if you drop a word, it's spotted. Oh, yep. Immediately just level up the W and dash on out. Elysium might be none the wiser. I want to say they saw Yarg dash out of there. They probably have an idea now after Serration was in that brush and saw Yarg at that turret. Recall.
Minions have spawned.
They're just still in it to win it.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is a very
Sunscorch.
deep invade. Even behind the red buff pit, they're looking to sweep the entirety of the enemy space. Con Esports responding really
Oh, wait.
nicely. Potato Senpai with a little bit of poke.
Potato Senpai with the mana flow proc. Let's go. Yeah, and with all that being said and done, we have an exchange of wards across the map here. We see a deep ward placed by Khan towards that red buff between the Raptors, and then the counter ward placed by Elysium was actually cleared by the looks of it by Yarg. So a little bit of counter vision coming out there, and with all being said and done, nothing too fishy happening on the Rift here level 1.
Honestly, that was pretty good for Con Esports. They have that deep vision onto the Viego, but furthermore, the Kennen didn't actually get to that wave quite in time, so Alfede may have a small push advantage there, may be able to use that power spike and try to make the most of those early levels like you were talking about.
Yeah, let's see how well those do work out. I mean, because you do still, I don't think either of these champions like hard wins the matchup in top lane. Like you mentioned, I'm also not super familiar with it because it feels like Kennen and Nara are never really meta at the same time.
That's fair.
Like, because they've definitely both been meta. Like, people have seen plenty of Nara, people have seen plenty of Kennen when it comes to pro matches, but at the same time, not ever really, to my knowledge.
And I would say that out of the two, Gnar has certainly been more popular as of late. I feel that it was very much a Gnar game in the top side when you couldn't go for Aatrox in that last Worlds. And maybe it's the case that once again we have an Aatrox meta in the top side with a Gnar as secondary.
Oh my. Is it actually going to be Aatrox meta again for Worlds?
Time is a flat circle.
Yeah. Like, I know Riot likes Aatrox being meta for Worlds because outplay potential, flashy, yada yada yada. But at the same time, it's like, it's been like, what, 3 Worlds at this point that Aatrox has been meta? I don't want a 4th one, dog.
I also just don't want Maokai to be pick ban, or at the very least, right under pick ban, so he ends up always selected during the game. I'm so tired of seeing it.
I mostly don't want the AP Maokai to be pick ban. Like,
That's
that is
fair.
just so bad. You throw out a sapling. Oh, hey, we got first strike. We proc demonic. Oh, hold that thought. We got a bit of a gang shaping up here on the bot side, maybe. The loop around coming from Sir Rizel is going to be spotted out. There's the ghost.
This is so telegraphed, though, and Susurration is going to be here to try to turn things around. So Ryzel already less than half health. Sunscorched and company try to make their way out of this one, but here comes the engage. A stun, and down goes the Udyr. Here come the resets. They are in a lot of trouble trying to extract themselves from the situation, but with the Ashe stacks, Leona's going to get the killing blow, and this is heartbreaking for Con Esports, losing 2 off of a fight they forced.
Yep, and great counter response there in the bot lane by Elysium. Like you mentioned, very telegraphed. Enough time was bought there for Susurration to come around in that bot lane. And now you got Viego with 2 assists. You got a kill on this Ashe as well. You're feeling pretty mighty fine and dandy if you are Elysium right now here in Yarko.
Yep, Con Esports going to have to look for advantages elsewhere, but for the time being, I think that it's enough of a shot in the arm for Elysium Dawn to start making moves off this Viego. But furthermore, Idris and Aerocross are now in a great position to just continue to hold their own and maybe actually force back Sunscorched and Yarg from making any big plays early.
We'll see how that does shape up here, because that is a pretty decent advantage in the bot lane. And actually, Sunscorched doesn't look like they've backed yet, so we'll see if they're able to match the back here that came out from Idris, who already has the Noon Quiver here. That's definitely going to help a lot when it comes to shoving this lane. That and also the double buffs. That's going to be a big deal. 600 auto range. You just land an auto. That's double the slow.
Do you know if it's susurration or susurration? I think that I'm just studying too much Indonesian right now, so I just think of susu, which is like milk, and it's kind of ruining my vision of their name.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't ask. Susurration just kind of came more natural to me, but I guess that's because sus is much more in the hip lingo nowadays, thanks to the 2020 hit that was released in 2018 or 2019, Among Us.
You say susurration because you're thinking of Among Us. I say susurration because I'm thinking of Indonesian. We are not the same.
Oh, Indonesian? Bahasa?
Yeah,
Oh, Lamau.
I guess theoretically it's Malaysian
I
as
only ever
well.
learned like 10 words in Bahasa, and that was to get home with the taxi.
Heck yeah. Were you in like Jakarta or something?
Was I? I don't know.
Well, speaking of people in weird places, Yarg is in a lot of trouble deep in enemy territory. I actually don't know how they're going to be able to get out of this one.
Yeah. We'll see who gets the kill here. I think it's.
Does he have his W back up? Oh, he's going to whiff it, get stunned, but Sir Rizel with the alley-oop.
Oh my.
That's crazy.
Yarg in the chat spamming stay free right now with that. Holy.
Oh my god.
Because Yarg by all right should have been dead.
100%. I think that Elysium Dawn indexed too much and trying to like spread out to catch anywhere that the Rakan could dash to, so they weren't all doing damage to the Birdman at once, and that meant that he had enough time to just kind of sit there, try to find a way out with the grand entrance, and what a call by Sir Rizel to be there as extra backup.
Yep. Because that could have actually been
Ivy.
huge there. Ooh.
Yeah, unfortunately, Alfayde not able to land enough damage before the Kennen just slithers their way back towards the tier 1 tower. So things are pretty calm, all things considered, after that last bot lane play. It did not turn into much.
Yeah. Do at least get the dragon, though, even though they missed the kill on Yarg, which I feel like they should have had there. I mean, maybe cooldowns weren't up, maybe they just didn't have the damage, but it looked like they're trying to hand off the kill there. Just nips him in the butt.
Yeah. First neutral objective over to Elysium Dawn, certainly not a bad thing for Red Squad, but look at how thorough the preparation is for this Rift Herald on Con Esports A. Already we see that Rift Scuttler being taken, and the priority that Alfayde has in the top side of the map, I think he's going to make it so Sir Rizel is looking to hit that pretty early and often.
He's got some general vision clearing right now. No huge objectives up. We got the Herald up in a few seconds. See if either of these teams are gunning for it. I mean, we got a lot of people in this topside area right now. Approximately 4 from both sides with the supports roaming on up. Top lane has Prio here for Khan, while Elysium has Prio in the mid lane. I'll let that thought, because this is just counter jungle city right now.
This is so deep, though, and Potato Senpai has that shockwave available. Gonna use it, pulling back arrow across Susurration, less than half health. And while they do manage to
the
get
Ashe
off of the Udyr, I don't think they're gonna be able to deal with the Orion under the tower. Potato Senpai gonna be able to flash back. Yar here with the hero play, and Alfayde will pincer them from the far side. That's 2 kills onto the robot.
Oh no, they just go way too damn far forward here, Nyarko, and 2 for 1 in the end there, if I'm not mistaken. Good lord.
That was not how I expected that to go whatsoever. I thought maybe we're going to get a clash around the Rift Herald, but no, as you're saying, counter jungle city, but unfortunately Elysium Dawn bite off a bit more than they could chew, and the fight took just too long. Yeah, Sir Rizel does die, but the Udyr is tanky enough to where it took so long. Alfayde was able to rotate down, and Potato Senpai, with a great flash, got to safety and prolonged the time that Red Squad was spending under that tier 1.
Yeah, that and also they're just kind of between 2 turrets. They're like... That is not an advantageous place to be in, especially at this point in the game where your inventory is literally just like 1 component item. Maybe 2 component items if you got one of the early kills. And yeah, I mean, all things considered, this game still is dead even. The only thing separating these 2 teams is that 300-ish gold on the scoreboard that is rapidly fluctuating depending on who's CSing at the current moment, and that 1 Chemtech Dragon. So not the end of the world here for Elysium, despite the rather Papega play there.
But Con Esports does now have that Rift Herald, which is Golden Potentia, Susurration, and Danny. Apparently unperturbed from that last play going belly up. They once again want to go for an invade. Arrowcross going to come to cover, and Yarg is going to have their ultimate interrupted, but they managed to get back in with the ground entrance. Susurration already dead, and Arrowcross will follow. That's 2 Pepega plays now, Gokor, and this might just be over.
Yeah, I don't know why Susurration went back in there as well. I guess thinking they had more backup coming, but yeah, that's just another 2 quick kills over, and that was over a red buff of all things.
I like the idea of translating the priority you're getting in the mid lane into big plays off the jungle, but yeah, it's certainly a questionable one. Top lane, Ivy in a little bit of trouble. We'll just be able to skirt backwards with their enhanced movement speed, but this is quite the dive being set up. Idris is gonna die. Yarg really deep in enemy territory. Mike's gonna be able to walk this off as Susurration and company are a bit distracted by Sir Rizel, and they will be able to take down that Udyr. Rakan once again with the great escape though. Sunscorch having to flash away.
I'm gonna flash away. So 1 for 1 off of that dive there. Good punish. Top lane all in here. Flash on out. All right, I thought there was gonna be more after that.
I don't know if they're gonna actually try to dive this Varus. They don't really have the time. Sunscorch does get back to safety. And look at this, 20 seconds before the next dragon. Do we actually think we're gonna be seeing a big fight around this?
Oh, it would be rough here because there are a lot of cooldowns that will still be down. I mean, there's no Vengeful Maelstrom, no TP for Alphadai here. And you just got a lot of other summoners down across the board, so it is going to be rough here. I think both the teams are going to suss it out a little, but since it is only the second dragon of the game, it's not like do or die. It's not like soul point here. It'd just be second dragon out in worst case scenario here, and in the other case scenario, it's just a tie.
Tying Dragons would be nice against a team like Elysium Dons, though. I think that Con Esports might have slightly better scaling because of the Varus on their side, but just keeping that late game hopes out of the hands of Elysium Dawn would always be a nice thing. But like you're kind of mentioning, it's not the biggest deal in the world that Con Esports are just going to play passive and give that up.
Yeah, can't really give it up. It's going to be the Cloud Soul this game. My favorite Dragon Soul.
Hey.
No bias.
I feel that I definitely spent my time defending the Cloud Soul from the Cloud Soul detractors, so I'm definitely on your side, but I feel like now people are becoming hip to the fact that it's cool, and therefore
I still feel so many naysayers.
That's fair, that's fair.
I'm playing gank here.
Good call by Sir Rizel to come up here. Ivy, once again, just gets away. It's the classic story of the Kennen. Not doing a whole lot right now, but certainly keeping their bacon about them. Now, we do see deep engage by Arrow Cross, but they're immediately knocked up by Yarg once again. Enchanter Crystal Arrow going to be fired off after we see the Solar Flare activated, but now the quickness is here, and now we see Sunscorch coming to play. Arrow Cross going low. Once again, going to be able to land their Zenith Blade, and Idris holds on as topside Sir Rizel has gone too deep. Danny will snipe them away. Susurration gets the reason.
Oh, no.
And now Payday's trying to get away from the Unleashed Power, but they have nothing with which to do so. A double kill for the Syndra, and this cross map is falling apart for Con Esports A as our Potato Senpai finds themselves deep in enemy territory, unable to even find a kill versus the nearly dead Viego.
And just like that, that's a 5-for-1 in favor of Elysium across the map here. Bot lane was deathly close there, but thankfully for them, Idris able to continuously DPS the entire time, not hit by too much of the CC coming out, and most of the punishment going towards Arrow Cross there. Top lane, we didn't see the full picture there, but it does look like it was a bit of a dive started off by the side of Khan here, and they just weren't able to convert in time there before the rest of the squad of Elysium came up towards that top side.
Well, Elysium Dawn certainly have found themselves quite the pendulum swing back into their favor, and I gotta say, that kind of throws these two dragons into sharper relief. This is now their win condition, and they are well set up to start pushing for a third.
Let's see what they're able to do with this. Got a little bit of a lull on the Rift for now. Bring on some objectives. Teleport in the mid lane here. We have Susurration on the side. Great stun.
And Potato Senpai is probably just dead. Going to be able to make their way just out of the range of Danny's spears. Great play there by Yarg to keep their mid laner alive, even though it costs them their flash.
Cost some flash and exhaust there, but at the
Might
same
cost them their life as well. They're going to have to just completely zoom away from this one as now Sir Rizel is going to enter into the fray. Enchanted Crystal Arrow going to land on the Rakan, and the CC is going to be furthered by the Solar Flare. Top side of the map, Alfede is going to be able to get a consolation prize, but that's a 1-for-1.
Yeah, 1-for-1, but also you get first turret here on the top side on this Gnar, who definitely has been coming out on top of this matchup, it would seem. With the CS lead now 3-1, and with all those turret plate golds in their pocket here, and first turret money. That's pretty spooky.
It's perfectly even gold right now, or Elysium Dawn is pulling ahead by about 700. Not a whole lot to deal with, so perfectly even may be an overstatement, but still, game is pretty neck and neck at the 15-minute mark right now. Second Rift Herald is up, and we're going to see if that's going to be a difference maker. Ping's coming out. Con Esports wants to take this.
It would be a nice tool here for the next dragon coming up if you want to have that extra split push threat. Or if you win a fight, you're just able to drop it in the lane and immediately get a nice fat chunk off turret. Looks like it's going to be picked up uncontested though by Khan here. They'll have that in their pocket here for whatever situation presents itself here.
It's a good little tool as we have about a minute before third dragon takes to the rift. That they're able to distract Elysium Dawn by pressuring the mid lane or something like that. We could find ourselves in a position where Con Esports is starting to get on the board in regards to the dragon count, and from there they push back the timeline at which Elysium Dawn will be able to pick up the soul.
Yep. See where they do use it here. There's gonna be a little bit of calm on the rift here. Granted, we have Susurration kind of in the enemy jungle and a couple of other members of Elysium walking into this jungle. Oh, poor Ivy.
I don't think Ivy's in too much trouble. They're just going to be able to walk back around. Sir Rizel down 2 levels. Couldn't really do a whole lot, even with the cavalry right there, especially given that Ivy has that flash up.
Be careful here. Alright, just able to barely get out of there with the ward kill secured.
This is a pretty deep commitment from Elysium Dawn to take down the tier 1 tower, but because Udyr is using this time to drop the Rift Herald top rather than try to wrap around and make something happen in the mid lane, it looks like this is going to pay off. Elysium Dawn are starting to lose a bit of their base. Yard
There's
wants to stop these backs, and there's the big engage. Idris able to kite themselves to safety. Arrow Cross also able to tank up. Danny trying to find an angle in, and there's the CC going all down onto Potato Senpai, who's trying to make their way back to safety, and look at the damage. Varus pops the Syndra like a balloon, and somehow that turns out to be a 2-for-nothing as Udyr opens up on the enemy base.
Yeah, base is open, and the teleport to this Cloud Dragon means that Susurration, who'd spent that entire fight just clearing away at this dragon, is not even able to get that for their team. So this is a pretty huge turning point for the side of Khan, because they get all those kills. They get 2 turrets in the top side, they get the mid turret, and they should be securing this dragon here unless there's a steal.
Looks like that's going to be successfully taken by Con Esports A, and not only that, they're able to extract themselves. No kills coming back around for Elysium Dawn to start off this chase into enemy territory. And Con Esports have to be super happy with these last few minutes. They've all of a sudden jumped out to almost a 2,000 gold lead.
Yeah. Elysium has to be careful here. You don't have the Vengeful Maelstrom, and it's just these 3 members. There's a teleport behind you, and now you're kind of just stuck between a rock and a hard place, I feel.
Arrowcross does have the flash, manages to get across the wall, but still a tool gone for no real reason, and Con Esports A still hold their ground.
Yeah, very costly there. By the side of Elysium, trying to get something off the back end of that. Does not work out. Don't lose any more lives, thankfully, contesting that dragon, but they're definitely now on the back foot.
What a great snipe there from Potato Senpai to get a free kill in the bot lane, but Sir Rizel's in a lot of trouble. Alfede is going to try to cross over and find a way to help their champion out, but the problem is Enchanted Crystal Arrow hits them, and now they're just going to be CC chained to death, a 2-for-1 across the map.
Teleport to the bot lane here by Danny, wanting to save this turret. Great pickup by Elysium in the top side. You're able to get that quick double here onto your Viego for Susurration. It's cost you on the bot side though, so a little bit of a tit for tat, I guess.
Yeah, and given that we have another 5 seconds before the Baron Nash respawns, it isn't like Elysium Dawn was able to turn those 2 kills into much of anything. Things, for the most part, stay relatively even between these 2 teams, and now it comes down to where the next great engage is going to happen.
Yeah, it kind of depends. There's no Heralds to fight over, so you'd be forcing it over either Baron or a Dragon. Dragon's not up for another 245, so I guess it could just be a pick angle here. It's definitely one way to go about it.
A little bit of a lull state right now, but I was gonna just say here, go for if you want to say something afterwards. That
yeah, ended on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, the tempo across the map is very much in favor of Con Esports because they have that extra tower, but a nice little sweep through the top side and bot side rivers are all that Elysium Dawn need to immediately reassert their vision control. And because we have such a lead up to either the Baron or the Dragon, I think this is still very much anybody's game. Arrowcross has got to be careful in those situations. They almost made me eat my wards just in that very instant.
Thankfully, the Mega Gnar ulti. Not the world's longest cooldown. You can already see it's a quarter of the way off cooldown, and that's just with Triforce for ability haste here. So, not the worst to whiff it. Okay, there's the mist. So it looks like they want to do something here on Elysium, but at the same time, that's going to be a little bit tricky. You got this Narcot out a little. There's also the Cavalry coming.
Yeah, they do see the Gnar, but the hop, skip, and jump away will keep them safe. Yarg is going to have to ultimate, and that movement speed gets them out from under the Enchant Crystal era as well. They're leaving Susurration on a wild goose chases. Look at the chaos inside of the river. Slicing Maelstrom used. Ivy unable to hold on, though. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far, but somehow the Viego has picked up a double kill, and they're looking to build back an attack versus Con Esports. But now, with Alfeade inside of their Mega Gnar form, getting the shutdown versus the Viego, this looks like it's favoring Blue Squad. Danny able to limp away from this one, but it's a 2-for-4.
2-for-4. Okay. Yeah, don't start Baron here, please. You guys are too low and don't really have too much damage. That's a demonic brace. Bootier. Oh, Danny? Okay, Danny being a little cheeky here, trying to maybe get a first strike proc, even though that's on cooldown. Oh, now it's back up. Okay. Also stop the recall to a lesser extent. See if that buys any extra time for this dragon coming up in 40 seconds, because you do want to set up vision around it here if you are Elysium. Would be soul point. Good stun there.
At this point, though, it feels like that last fight was mostly just that little gold bump for Con Esports. They're going to have to spin the wheel again, go for something else, either around this Baron Nash or this Dragon spawning up in 20 seconds. The question is, who's going to go where on the map first, and how are the fights going to start off? Great hit onto Sunscorch. Taking this champion to about half health certainly is not a good start to things for Con.
Yeah. Are they just going for Baron here? I feel like this would be kind of a force to try and get a teleport out. They do have position on this. It should be spotted, though, by the Scuttle and that blue trinket in the pit, so... You know the contest is coming here. You're burning through it as fast as you can. What happens? There's the Charm.
Yeah, the Charm doing quite a bit, but the Slicing Maelstrom is going to hit 4 members, and the Varus is so damn low. Ivy will sacrifice themselves to force Con Esports off of the Baron Nasher, but look at the cleanup. Elysium Dawn going to be able to pick up 2 in a trade. Now they have to extract themselves from the situation, though, in Con Esports. They're sticking around the big purple worm.
Yep, 2 for 2, but you can see the health bar is a little in the favor of Con right now, which is how healthy Ryzel is. It is going to stop the Baron, but with how that fight started, I mean, I honestly thought that was going to be a very clean Elysium sweep there. You get that massive Vengeful Maelstrom onto everyone. You have that big follow-up. You immediately get a reset. You have that Ashe DPSing, but 2 for 2 in the end. Okay.
I thought that they would have the oomph to take it with Susurration as well. Yeah, they weren't able to do much more than make it even, and while they do force Con Esports off of that Baron initially, they're right back at it yet again, trying to bait people into these fights. Alfeade doesn't have teleport up. They're going to have to make the long walk all the way to this neutral objective. But more critically, Susurration is in a very similar position, trying to rush over to this big purple worm to 50-50. But for the time being, pick control still over onto Con Esports. And now Alfeade is going to try to find themselves with the flank. Scatter the Weak, not going to really land onto too many members of Blue Squad, but finally the Baron Nash are going to be de-aggro for the time being, and here comes the engage.
Oh,
Susurration blown up in an instant. Oh, it's a disaster for Elysium Dawn. They're going to lose the Leona as well, as Idris is desperately trying to find space. Scatter the Weak will buy it for them, but Khan Esports has now picked up 4 kills, and this is finally their Baron to take.
This is 100% of their Baron to take here. 4-4-0. No one left to contest except this Syndra. And now Khan sitting mighty fine and comfortable. They should balloon up to quite a hefty gold lead after this Baron's picked up and they spend their gold. They're also picking up Cloud Dragon on the bot side here to even up the dragon count. And now it's almost a 5,000 gold differential. Expected to get it definitely a decent bit higher here with this Baron push.
And this is now Khan Esports' time to shine. If they're able to break away from Elysium Dawn in regards to their gold count, push it towards around 8,000 in their favor, there's probably no way back into this for Red Squad. They got those 2 early dragons, but now it doesn't really seem to matter. Khan Esports can play the long game, they can play the short game, they can do both beautifully because the scaling is on their side.
Oh, Chance of Crystal Arrow immediately cleansed.
Yar's just going to be able to zoom away from this. Nice little call right there by the Rakan, and yeah, things will stay stable.
Oh, I wouldn't be forcing this too much harder, Elysium. There is the charge on in.
Okay, well, they may actually be able to pick something up here. Great scatter the weak. Sir Rizel's just dead. Susurration is going to go incredibly low, but somehow that stopwatch keeps them safe. They managed to extract themselves with an easy pickup, and now this is 1 Baron buff off the table.
Yep, 1 Baron buff off the table. It gives you 5 versus 4 on the map as well, which should spell out a nice bit of Baron, although with how low your health bars are, you kind of have to recall here, and that's going to see this mid-inner turret. So it's not completely scot-free in terms of the dubs.
Dragon coming up in 3 minutes 40 seconds. Not really much of a factor. It's just Siege City for Khan Esports. They can find waves, but as you were kind of noting there, Gofrino, the fact that it's a 4v5 on the map while Sir Rizel is down means that Elysium Dawn actually gets quite a bit of breathing space and is able to ride out the majority of this Baron buff without giving too much over to Blue Squad, and therefore I think we're going to be seeing this game go on a little bit longer.
See if they're able to keep this game going a little bit longer, stall this Baron buff, and stabilize a little, get on slightly more even footing. This gold lead now at almost 7,000 gold. More like 6,500 right now, but that is starting to get pretty hefty. And the siege continues.
Luckily, Danny on the Syndra is in a position where they have enough gold under the belt at 3, 2, and 7 with 8 Dark Seal stacks that they are really nuking these waves. And furthermore, their artillery fire off Scatter the Weak is such that Khan Esports can't really walk up without getting just wombo combo down under the turret by Susurration going in with a W or Idris hitting the Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Okay, Enchanted Crystal Arrow land, no cleanse.
Yeah, and that is going to be Aerocross going deep into the backline, flashing away, trying to get to safety. Slicing Maelstrom buys the space needed. Danny with the Scatter the Weak is turning things beautifully around for Elysium Dawn. Down goes the Baron, and Alfayed
more on him.
A sliver of health. It's going to be a 4-for-2 in favor of the team so far behind.
4-for-2 might not be over just yet. Susurration does not have flash or the Heartstopper catch up. Or the Heartbreaker to catch up to the Snar. Okay, yeah. 4-for-2. You'll be able to pick up this mid lane inner turret by the looks of it. Great forced fight there here from the side of Elysium. It was a 4 versus 4 at the start, but very importantly, Potato Senpai was not around there for the beginning of that. No huge shockwave to immediately nuke you. Be able to hop on top of this barrier, so you're able to start getting those resets on in. And a nice little comeback fight here to really even things back on up.
And honestly, that gold lead seemed to mean nothing in that last engage. Now, obviously, there was a tower there, so this was not perfectly even keel between Khan Esports and Elysium Dawn, but it does show that Khan Esports is going to have to put a lot more resources, more responsibly toward actually breaking open Red Squad's base than first expected.
And that does give some nice gold on over to a couple of these champions. Idris able to get a couple kills in that fight. We've also got the shutdown. That's going to be a bit of a field goal on that one. Things are shaping up for another fight already here in Nyarko. With that Enchanted Crystal Arrow being down, Elysium might be a little more wary of forcing something.
We're crossing over the 30-minute mark. Con Esports scaling is certainly getting online, but Elysium Dawn has not given up the ghost just yet. And honestly, Danny is becoming more and more crucial to these big plays from Red Squad. The ability for the Center to remain relatively untouched, and the fact that that burst damage has become so critical versus the likes of Sir Rizel is making this a tough one. And now look at this. Once again, Con Esports, they try to find something around the inhibitor, but Ivy just throws themselves at the enemy team with the Slicing Maelstrom. There goes down one, and Danny is going to burst Yarg in an instant. What is going on?
I mean, just another pick being picked up there by the side of Elysium. They're able to tie up the kills here with that 2 for 0, picking off the enemy bot lane here and saving their inhibitor, at least for now. We already see these members coming on back. It is fairly low, so you should be able to grab this and get on out. The big question is, will you get punished for it and lose a member? It's like no.
Calm before the storm. Another dragon picked up, this time by Elysium Dawn, moving themselves to Soul Point. But the big thing to watch for on the map is the fact that the next Baron is going to be up in 15 seconds. And while it's kind of already been proven that Con Esports A can't do the most off of it, I feel that Elysium Dawn is going to be a terror with this buff. This is going to be a game decider.
Yeah. Especially with Elysium's base already open here and having to deal with supers in the top lane. Like, one big L at Baron here means you probably just lose the game flat out.
Keep an eye on Ivy. Once again, these flanks, the fact that the Slicing Maelstrom is able to engage upon so many members and the follow-up is beautiful, means that Elysium Dawn just needs to start slowly forging forward with that vision, lighting this top side up like a Christmas tree. They want the ideal teleport into flank angle for the little lightning rat.
It's going to be the Vision Wars over the river right now. Look for the Sky of the Week here. It's going to pick off this Gnar, and the engage has started.
But Yarg not able to get a whole lot off the quickness. That's heartbreaking. They're going to try to go back in. Arrowcross going to be able to sidestep, and here comes the Solar Flare. Double stun, and here comes
the Shockwave. Well.
It is absolutely massive. The Shockwave, Potato Senpai, saving the bacon of Con Esports. Arrowcross and company funneled into this choke point. Sir Rizel staying alive. There's the GA popped. Let's see what happens on the far end of this one for Susurration. They try to W to safety, but they find nothing. Idris limps away with barely any health left, as does Ivy. They're going to have to reset, but Irish can't even get back to the base. This isn't even going to be Baron. This could just be the end of the game with that top inhibitor busted.
Yeah, Idris just a little indecisive on whether or not they back there, and they end up paying the ultimate price. I mean, Potato Senpai in that fight, MVP. You just shockwave the enemy backline there, and flat out killed Danny. Idris barely walking away from that one, and it ends up still dying in the end. You are able to pick up a second inhibitor here, so not going to end it just quite yet here. You can see the spawn timers are coming back up. We got Aircross and Danny back on the rift, but 10 more seconds till Susurration means free reign over this Baron.
And Con Esports, I think, have finally broken through that barrier. The newest influx of goals, the new power spikes being hit by their champions, this new Baron buff, I think will be enough for them to take this game #1. But it was not clean by any stretch of the imagination. And Elysium Dawn still does have a shot. If they're able to secure this soul, keep it going on for a little bit longer, an Elder Shot could be all they need to turn this one around.
We'll see. They're able to close the game on out with this one. Got the double inhibs down, and with Baron buff, that is going to make it very easy to just get supers to start crashing in on these Nexus turrets. I'm guessing the play for them probably is going to be squirt the bot wave on in, because Elysium's going to have to deal with supers in both mid and top. Get that inhibitor, maybe force something, maybe just get a third inhib, and go from there.
Gnar a little bit isolated, just able to dodge out of the way of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, though, and therefore they're going to be able to keep up the distraction. While the rest of Con Esports are setting up bot side. There's the teleport being channeled. Potato Senpai is here, the hero of the last fight. Once again, well positioned to make something happen to end this game quickly for Con Esports A.
Yeah, they're going to need another huge team fight here for Elysium. like they did last Baron buff to hold on, because you can already see these Baroned up supers in the mid lane proving to be quite the issue. You have top wave starting to crash on in, and that's not even accounting for the fact that there's 2 Baroned up cannon minions in this bot lane just hammering away at this turret.
Yeah, the siege really paying dividends now. Elysium Dawn unable to wave clear as much as they want, especially without Fayade harassing them on the flank. Sir Ryzel going to lead the charge onto this third inhibitor, and now super minions are going to flood the enemy base. Elysium Dawn going to have to fall back towards these Nexus turrets. This is their last chance to try to make something happen here. They need to wipe away these suits of purple, otherwise they're just slowly going to be ground down into dirt. Sir Ryzel, once again, just holding the enemy team at bay. They have those candy minions to play off of, and look at how much of a beating these Nexus turrets are already taking. This is going to have to be a quick trigger pull for Red Squad. There we go. Ivy goes in. There's a slicing maelstrom. Sir Ryzel taking below half health. Yarg trying to defensively use the quickness, but Doriana turns it in an instant. The powerless Sunscorch is unleashed, and nobody can touch the Varus. A double kill, a triple kill, a quadra kill.
That's going to be game number 1 here for Con Esports. It was pretty even throughout, it felt like, but towards the end, Con, they're able to keep a lockdown on the map here and bring it on home in the end with that 5-for-1 team fight here.
And what a showing. Not the cleanest game by any stretch of the imagination, but what a heartbreaker for Elysium Dawn. They had so many pop-off moments, but it just wasn't enough to get over that edge, and Con Esports eventually had the scaling come back to save them. Great showing all around. Potato Senpai obliterating everybody else's damage count, except for maybe Danny, and Sunscorched came alive right at the end when they needed them most. What a showing, and now we got to throw it over to quick break to jump into the second draft of the night. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Diamond Division for Elysium Dawn versus Con Esports A. That was a back and forth game number one. Con Esports A eventually came out on top, but I gotta say, sloppy from either side, and that indicates that this is still anybody's series.
Yeah, really, just bloody game number one, and sometimes you could say bloody in the wrong ways. Was exciting to watch, definitely was. We'll see if the teams tighten up for this game number two here. If that was just game number one nerves, if that was a little bit of game number one rust. Either way, though, we got one new face on the board. It is going to be that Diego taken away here by Khan, not wanting Susurration to snowball on that again.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense that they're going to be adjusting. That Viego certainly was a threat, and while, like I said before, Con Esports came out with a dub, there were certain weak spots that were well exploited by Susurration, and while the Viego's early aggression didn't always lead to payoffs, they really became fed and quite the threat.
And first pick, Senna. Is being hovered right now. Hey, Maokai. Okay. We were just talking about AP Maokai too last game and how we don't want to see that meta worlds. I'm expecting it to lean towards that Maokai playstyle. That's what we've predominantly been seeing. We do sometimes see the Aftershock tank Maokai come out, but expecting it to be jungle first strike Maokai, throws out a lot of saplings, rushes to Demonic Embrace. The Udyr, though, being hovered here by Khan, worked out decently well for them last game as a front liner. Did have a little bit of issues early with all the aggressive counter jungling, but did work out in the end with the homies coming out to help you, and that's going to be locked in. The Ashe as well being hovered here by Khan. That was the pickup last game for Elysium. Pretty solid ADC all around in this meta, and that's going to be locked on it.
And I'm surprised that they're going to give this over to Sunscorched, given the fact that they were the carry at the very end of that game on the Varus, and this time around, while you are on an Archer once again, it's not really one that does quite as much damage, and so therefore it's going to be an emphasization of some other lanes to really be able to build out to that profile. Elysium Dawn, though, going to answer back, and right now they're hovering the Ezreal of all things.
Yeah, I mean, the Ezreal can Arcane Shift out the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, which helps. And it's not like Ashe has the biggest kill threat on you, I guess, depending on the support. So it's going to be playing for a bit of a neutral lane here, being paired up with the Rakan by the looks of it, so that's going to give you some nice ult-in potential. We'll see if Khan drafts a support here that can counter that, because the Ezreal Rakan can definitely be a little countered here. Depending on the pick, if you're just able to stop the Rakan and then lock down Ezreal. We'll see what's paired with the Ashe, though, to guarantee a little bit of safety from the Rakan bow.
Still a lot of possible things to grab on the table right now. I think that Khan could either just go for a pretty aggressive bot lane, not in terms of setting up for things versus specifically the Ezreal, but rather to just roam. Or you could just try to shore up this Ashe and then look for some grouped team fights to go your way. Zillion and Renata both kind of fit that second category, and it will be locked in. Certainly a little bit of a juke from the norm.
Yeah, definitely a little out of left field. We don't typically see too much of the Zillion, mostly because like almost no one plays him. But pretty good champion here with the Chrono Shift. You're just able to bail that one person on out, and you'll have some pretty decent poking lane here against this Rakan. You do have to be careful pre-6, though, without the Chrono Shift. A Rakan dash on in will bop you on up, and you won't have too much recourse here. But with the slowdown, you will be able to set up some nice aggressive ganks here for your Udyr here. So we'll see how that pans out in the bot lane.
Syndra band makes a lot of sense. That was another huge threat from Elysium Dawn in that game number one. And I also wouldn't be torn up to see the cannon also removed from the pool. These were the things that were really putting Con Esports onto the back foot in a few situations, and they were really the win conditions for the team.
Yeah. It's a little surprising in the cannon ban because you did handle that decently well in the laning phase. You had the lead as the Gnar, you're up a bunch of CS, you're able to get first turret, you're able to get a bunch of plates, you're able to get a couple of kills here and there as well, not exactly solo, but through roam fights, and definitely had the leg up, and you had the cannon's number, of course, with the R5 counter pick on Khan's side this time around. Actually, no, the Aatrox locked in, though, interestingly enough.
Yeah, the Aatrox is something that has really bubbled up in the meta yet again, and this is exactly what I was talking about earlier when
Yeah.
I was saying these are the nightmare scenarios for second Worlds meta in a row. We got the Aatrox, we got the Maokai, we got Udyr, I guess, which is a little bit of a deviation, but and luckily we haven't seen a Zeri so far this series, but I'm still really worried about what's going to be happening
Well,
during my
there's
favorite
also been on the
tournament
ban
of the year.
board
Yeah, that's fair.
both games. Because even with the -5 MS nerf and the shift nerfs, like that champion is just so pro skewed and you're able to do so much. Like you just have your ultimate permanently up. How do you catch this champion? You just dash over a wall. It's like, all right, yeah. I mean, you have relatively safe laning. You have a really excellent scaling team to play around you. Yada yada yada. Turns out J4. So I guess that's gonna be a top lane Maokai into the Aatrox. I don't know how well that works out here. Um, because you won't really be able to do too much to this Aatrox, I feel, as the Maokai.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's interesting that we are seeing the Maokai not go into the jungle role, but Jarvan is another high-tempo champion that has made their mark as of late in the metagame, and it does kind of come as an ankle breaker in regards to the draft order here. But Khan, regardless, are just trying to pick themselves a mid laner, and this Cassiopeia consideration makes a lot of sense given the dashes that will be coming out of that Jarvan and Rakan. It's going to be grabbed.
Yep, be able to lock down. I mean, there are 4 dashes slash blinks on the enemy team that you can ground, and the Petrifying Gaze is a good tool for when a J4 and Maokai and Rakan hop on top of you. We'll see if this Cassiopeia is able to put out the damage here, because the Nico does outrange you, I believe, with the E-Root, and that can set up for kills with that Pop Blossom, or just set up for really fat trades if they get that nice Blooming Blow on down.
All right. Well, both of these teams locked in, and I'm going to be honest. This is at the very least what I see to be a closer draft than game number one. But because it seems like these are teams that care less about the individual matchups and just more about duking it out over the course of a 30-minute banger, I really don't know how much weight I'm going to be putting on that fact. This could easily just turn into a snowball for one side or the other. There are plenty of champions with carry potential coming out for both Elysium and Khan. But what do you think is coming out on top here?
Um, my biggest fear is for Elysium, how are you realistically going to kill this Aatrox in fights? Because Ezreal won't exactly melt through this Aatrox. You got a J4 Maokai topside, and then a burst mage in the mid lane. So that can be a huge issue, especially with the Chrono Shift here. That's my biggest worry, at least in terms of like late game fights when we're looking at these 2 drafts.
All right. Well, while there are a little bit of flexes on both sides that could come through in the draft phase, I highly doubt that they will. As much as I would love to see this as a Jarvan top lane with the Maokai in the jungle role, it's really just going to come down to how much can this Jarvan do to get in under the likes of the Udyr and the Aatrox and the Cassiopeia in this game for us to really see Elysium make a splash and hopefully take us to game number 3.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make a really big splash in this early game as J4, I feel. If you're Susurration, like, you want to make the things happen. You want to get these lanes going on ahead here. You don't want to Cassiopeia scaling up, and you don't want to have to deal with that late game Aatrox preferably.
And as we move a little bit deeper into the client draft itself, those are the last little tendrils of potential flex now gone away from us. The Udyr jungle is something that I was a little bit disappointed in for Khan Esports in game number 1. Like, yeah, they eventually did their job buying space, but I feel like they could have done that better on some other picks. And at the same time, they gave her a lot of gold, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a little mixed on the Udyr from game number 1 too. Eventually ended up being a tank for your front line, but you'd also have to deal with some counter jungling / invades early on, so wasn't the smoothest of sailing to say the least. We'll see if it's much more smooth sailing this time around. I mean, Ryle was able to still get the dub game number 1 eventually, so worked out in the end, I guess, despite the rocky start.
All right, well, things about to be rounded out here. Idris on this Ezreal is another unknown quantity to me. Ezreal is one of the champions that is the most volatile in regards to the amount of impact they can have on the game. You either hit every CS, you hit every Q on the enemy as well, and then you become an absolute monster, able to just duck dive, bob and weave away from all the CS being directed your direction by the likes of the Ashe and the Cassiopeia. Or alternatively, you just kind of do nothing. You pepper a few shots at some of the tankier members of Con Esports, and you just eventually get bowled over.
Yeah, Ezreal definitely feels like that. Like you mentioned, either you hit all your Qs and you DPS God, or you just kind of tickle the enemy front line. I'm curious. I mean, I have high hopes for Idris. They did pretty decent in that game, number one, aside from some Ashe ultimates that they did miss. Those were definitely whiffs, but hey, you always miss a few here and there.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm going to chalk those misses more up to just really good dodging by the enemy than actually them missing them all the way out, right? There were a few that went totally wide, but really impressive stuff, especially, I think, out of the Gnar to buy them space. Rakan as well showed off their ability to just kind of break ankles throughout the entirety of that round. But now we're getting champion swaps left, right, and center, right? It's the Rakan on Elysium Dawn's side, while Con Esports has picked up the Ashe for themselves. And we're about to enter into this game number 2. We're going to wait out the rest of the spectator delay on break. We'll see you guys on the other side. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Diamond Division as we watch Elysium Dawn and Con Esports A get on at it for game number 2. Con Esports picked up that first game, and like I said before, wasn't the cleanest, but at the end of the day, a win is a win, and Elysium Dawn has to start once again from the ground floor to try to make something happen to take us to a game number 3.
Alrighty, might have seen something almost happen there. Yard might not have been spotted going in here. Does not get the bomb, so no spell thief proc there, or mana flow proc. Sadly enough,
We're fighting over pittances here at the end of the day, Gopher, you know?
whatever that means. Yes.
Just the smallest little things on the rift, you know? One spell
Minions
thieves
have
proc.
spawned.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Idris getting a shot in. Sir Rizel heartbroken at that one. Oh, 2 shots. Oh, it's a disaster.
Oh wait, ping. Idris didn't see the ward, so they can't get the +5 from the ping.
What a strange one for sure. Danny gonna get some really good trades
Potato
versus Potato
Senpai.
Senpai. And they're both just autoing each other all the way towards these waves, finally meeting us.
We'll get a decent bit in return here as this Cassiopeia since Twin Fangs basically on a non-existent cooldown. Able to rapid fire those on back at Danny. Just still come out on top in the trade.
Sunscorched and Yarg choosing not to go for a leash. They will be in lane earlier on than Elysium Dawn's bot lane, and therefore they probably are going to be able to get that push advantage going, especially with Yarg on this Zillion. There's a good chance that Red Squad is going to be up at the enemy tower quite frequently. We'll see whether or not Jarvan tries to make something happen off the back of that back. Susurration for the time being, though, is just going over to clear out that topside blue buff and maybe look for a reverse gank.
Yep, level 2 picked up. Gonna be able to deny some CS under this turret here as well. Because if the Mystic Shot isn't up, it can be a little bit tricky for the Ezreal to pick up some of these minions on awkward HP counts under the turret. Considering it's a level 2 Ezreal, there is actually a cooldown on the Mystic Shot right now.
Alfayede leading quite the gaggle of minions into the top side. In general, Con Esports A seems to be getting first push basically in every single lane. I don't really know if it's going to translate into a whole lot because we don't really have much in the way of deep trades outside of the mid lane, which went in favor of Danny. But yeah, things looking about as expected early on. And this one really going to be up to these junglers to make a splash early. And therefore, all eyes really on Susurration. This Jarvan pick kind of coming out of nowhere. Going to be a notable selection for this early game as we finally see a deep trade. Ivy taking quite a bit of abuse.
Yeah, Ivy trying to hold the wave just out of turret to freeze a little there. But eats up the full Darkened Blade combo, feels like, from Alfayede. As well as a passive proc there. So much damage thrown around here in that top side by the Doran Shield. Aatrox gonna be the immediate back here, so Ivy's efforts are a little all for fraught there. So they end up losing a bit of the wave to the turret anyways.
Opposite sides for both of these junglers right now means that this is going to be a relatively calm early game, not a whole lot of clashing between these two. And that might be something that actually favors the Jarvan because it leads to a free lane that, if overextended, they could gank a little bit more readily, especially without Sir Rizel being in the area. However, their opportunity will not come into that bot lane while they were grabbing that Scuttle Crab, just because Aerocross and Idris are starting to push back.
I feel like for a little bit of aggression here on the side of Elysium. Wave is in kind of a neutral state. There is no Chrono Shift just yet. It is level 3 for both these bot laners, so could very easily force out a flash from either one of these two gamers in the bot side. Yapinalande, Jarvan EQ, or the Rickon dash on in. For both the junglers here.
Yeah, Sir Rizel going to push back against the engage against Jarvan. Susurration going low. Sir Rizel going to follow through. Sunscorch flashing forward. First blood, and it looks like it's going to be a double kill for the Ashe. Idris cowering under the tower. And Con Esports, they come ahead.
That's disastrous here for the side of Elysium. They've spent a good bit trying to set up that gank, and when you finally go in, Sir Rizel is there as the Udyr. Already there, and Susurration probably regretted pressing EQ as soon as they flag and dragged on in. 2-0 on the bot side, both kills going to Sunscorched on this Ashe as well. Should be able to push this lead against an Ezreal.
And right back to clear the Udyr goes. Con Esports find themselves up about 1,500 gold. And given the fact that this Jarvan was the one that we had the homework for to get ahead early, that is so heartbreaking to see.
Mm-hmm. It's not over just yet, but the fact that
Things have
bot
become
lane's
significantly harder at the very least.
yeah, especially in this bot side. Like 2 assists on Sir Rizel. Okay, well,
I
this
think
could be a
Ivy's
solo
just
kill
dead.
here.
Yeah. And they have the ultimate available. Ivy not even at level 6. Will trade flash for flash, go down, and this is going to be a wave crashed in as well. Yet another winning lane for Con Esports, this time without the help of the jungler.
Yeah, Ivy just low on health there. Only had the boots and Doran shield, so no real armor to deal with that all in. And I mean, Alpha Die, they're not in really any threat in this lane. Okay, maybe you take a sapling here and there. Maybe you take a chunk of your health in a bad trade, but I'll hold that thought. That's so much damage here.
Yeah, Rizel a little bit too deep, and because of that, Danny is going to punish beautifully. Kill actually goes over to Susurration, but you need to respect that Nico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was really going well there for Sir Rizel at the start, but you're just that far behind enemy lines. Enemy mid easily able to roam on up and punish you for that. Just give over a kill in return.
Closes the gold gap just a little bit now. It's only about 1.2k in favor of Con Esports, which certainly is still significant at the 7-minute mark. And I do think this probably means that it's going to be tempo dominance for Red Squad in such a way they're going to be able to grab this dragon. But there's still a fighting chance, and Elysium Dawn, if they can pick up another kill or so, can easily get back out onto the map.
Yeah, especially if it's the mini shutdown on Sunscorched right now. It is only the 150 bounty, so it would be a 450 gold kill, but 450 gold at this point in the game is a pretty decent swing when you're still working on components. Good stun here. No enchanted crystal arrow.
Yep, Idris will have to flash, though, and that coming up right as we see Sir Rizel get that dragon does mean that Elysium Dawn is in an awkward position to actually try to instigate a fight. That being said, I think that they know Udyr is on this. Jarvan's getting around the corner. Danny also going to be in the area, and now it's just 50-50. Sir Rizel trying to pull down the dragon. That enchanted crystal arrow goes wide, and now it truly is just going to be a spike fight. That blue squad wins. Elysium Dawn are also able to get the cataclysm down, and with that big shot from Idris also landing, now it feels like Con Esports have lost their footing in this river. Sunscorch going to be split away from the rest of the team. They will fall, but Potato Senpai gets a triple kill in return, and his Cassiopeia is unlocked.
Beautiful combo there by Elysium. You just get the 1-2, knock 'em, sock 'em, rock 'em, bop 'em, or I forget how that toy was called, but you bounce them all up there. There's a beautiful two-shot barrage across all of them to get that fatty damage. The issue is, though, there's now a 3-0 Cassiopeia. No ifs, ands, or buts about that, and that's insanely scary with just how hard Cassiopeia scales, how much of a menace she becomes in these 1v1s. That's just going to be another huge threat on the side of Con that you're going to have to deal with it. It's going to be a little bit tricky here if you're not able to get on top of, and even if you get on top of, there's a chrono shift.
3 for 3 plus dragon sounds good for Elysium Dawn, especially when behind, but that gold concentration is really backbreaking. Con Esports and now are going to have dominance over that mid lane, and the tempo that we were getting out of Danny, just wave clearing and roaming versus the Snake, was I think part of the reason why Elysium Dawn was able to fight back this well in the early game. Now, that option is a little bit less tenable just because Potato Senpai is a massive threat if they ever follow up. And this might be a kill as well. Arrowcross immediately going to try to cover the escape of Idris, but they're slowed down, and Sunscorch is just hammering them with damage off these auto attacks. That Rakan is a freebie, and now the Ashe is also getting fed.
Unable to dash back to their homie Idris there, and it's just a freebie over to this Ashe. Burrito Cassiopeia 3-in-1 Ashe. Yeah, that's not a good one to deal with. Oh, we could have played the game just Potato Senpai count the minions here.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to just be stunned up. Good little trade there from Danny. That's a tough situation when they all get bunched up like that, I will say.
To be fair, it is also just counting for melee minions. But it's also kind of hard to always remember that. Because Nico, Counterplaying against her, you kind of have to remember to count minions.
That is fair.
And we haven't seen too much Nico in the past few months. Like, she pops up here and there, but it's like one of those skills you have to relearn.
Yeah, that's a funny push-pull dynamic. I guess the less relevant Nico is, the more you're going to be able to cheese people with that.
Yeah. But either way, gonna net some plates here in the mid lane. Oh,
well,
you could have actually canceled the Herald there.
Drops the Eye of the Herald, was trying to, I think, ward, and spots out Arrow Cross. Now, this is going to be an awkward guide-in for Shelly. Danny's probably going to be able to cover it. Yard gets hit by a great little stun there, and now they're looking for the Pop Blossom. It's going to land, but Potato Senpai...
Oh, the Tricky Crystal Arrow lands!
Massive Petrifying Gaze! Oh no! Elysium Dawn! Where are you going to go, guys? This is a fantastic.
Oh no, where are you going back in?
Esports. Susurration will be able to kill the Zillion, but look what has happened in return. 4 members of Elysium Dawn have died, and Susurration barely manages to get to safety.
Oh, that's a 5 versus 4 too. You see in the top side, Alpha Day is just proxying the wave here, looking for even more farms. So just such a heavy L by Elysium in the mid lane here. Just starts off with their mid laner Danny getting caught out there in Nyarko, and then everybody falling into that Petrifying Gaze. It's now a 5-0 Cassiopeia and a 4-1 Ashe. Super farmed 1-0 Aatrox in the top lane with some plays to boot. Yeah, this is rough.
And it was like I was saying during the draft phase. Picks, bans, all those be damned. At the end of the day, these two teams are just going to slug it out on the Rift. It could be even, it could go long, or it could be a snowball. You can never know with these two.
I mean, it's a 4.5k goal differential right now. And plays haven't even fallen. That is
holy
massive.
cow, that is a fast, slithery snake. Danny's still able to land the skill shot, which is pretty valuable. They will have to rush under the tower. Susurration here on a flanking play, but there's just no follow-through in there for. With Cassiopeia basically being a raid boss at this point, Elysium Dawn is going to need to bring the whole army.
Yeah, with that completed row, just giving a bunch of health. Even though it's not fully stacked. You have the Chrono Shift with you. I don't think Iron Spike Whip Caulfield's J4 is going to be too much of a threat. Although Yarg, in danger.
This is the second time Zillion's been caught out. Gonna have to use the Chrono Shift on themselves, but Sir Ryzel gonna hand off the aggro. Here comes the Pop Blossom down onto 3 members, and good cleanup from Susurration. They find themselves on the far side of the fight. Potato Senpai gonna be bobbed up by 3, but here comes Alfeade with a World Ender. They are destroying the enemy team, and Sunscorched yet again is untouched. Ivy going to die over the wall. A triple kill for the Ashe, and this is another near ace in favor of Khan.
Another disastrous fight there by Elysium. They try and pick off the Zillion. They're not... They get some of the initial CC, but there's enough time to press the Chrono Shift, and then you're just way too damn deep. Then you're getting pincered by everyone. Next thing you know, you're trapped in that giant fun zone. And yeah, everyone's dead.
And at this point, with 5,000 gold lead about to be crested by Khan Esports, before the plates fall, this might just be it, unfortunately. Alfeade is disgustingly fed. Potato Senpai is a monster. And it's 7-1-4 Ashe. How the hell did that even happen?
I
actually don't think Alfeade dies here. I think he probably 2v1s even without World Ender. Yeah, Arrowcross realizes that's the case. Will just have to jump away.
Yeah. I mean, it's a level 11 Aatrox. Enemy bot lane is level...
Oh no.
Gonna get a kill here anyways.
Playing American Sniper, down goes the Birdman regardless. This is rough, man.
Oh my. Yeah, it's just kind of L's all over the map here. Can Susurrection get this lock on down? No, you can't. There's a Zillion here, and yep.
Wow, the Twin Fangs also just doing so much damage. Susurration will not look into the eyes of the Cassiopeia, therefore they will get to safety, but another flexing of muscles, a show of power from Khan Esports. We're only 15 minutes into this game, and things look like they're about to wrap up. If another Rift Herald goes down and Elysium Dawn loses the team fights, Shelly could just tear open their base.
Yeah, funnily enough, that's the first turret picked up in the bot lane here. Even though Alfeade got that top turret so low. Oh, Ivy is in danger. Yeah.
That is one of those weird dynamics that you notice in games that are like very one-sided in regards to turret taking. You really sometimes don't see that first turret go down in the lane the top laner starts at. They want to grab it elsewhere. We got Chaos on the Rift though here in this topside river.
Oh, you got the
Shut
Ashe.
down onto the Ashe, and Susurration is keeping these big carries locked up for quite a while. Sir Rizel forging deep into enemy territory. Alfeade is just not present for this fight. Susurration eventually dies, and now this Udyr is looking mighty monstrous. Aerocross trying to get across the wall. Slowly they are burned down. And the Cassiopeia just slithers away from this whole chaos, this whole fiasco. Oh, man, that was about the best that Elysium Dawn could hope for. That was without the Aatrox there, and it still was barely a winning fight.
Yeah, and it started off so well, too, because you get that immediate kill onto Sunscorch there. You're able to get another kill there, but Sir Rizel in that backline soaking up so much damage against those low health members and able to just keep spamming those abilities and rack up that burn damage. 3 for 3, and you do get some shutdowns. Oh, this could just be a kill here with that stun.
No flash available. Danny will just use her shape splitter to get to safety, but that shows the power of Sunscorched ahead. They are able to just throw out those enchanted crystal arrows willy-nilly, and the follow-up from basically anybody except for Yarg is going to be lethal.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks like it's going to be Herald here. Oof. Yeah, can't even walk into that river right now.
Easy pickup. True shot for Raj. Not going to get the steal. And yeah, with that next neutral objective going down, this is just looking like it's going to be the full-on cleanup by Con Esports. Now, the fact that the Dragons are split does mean Elysium Dawn has a little bit of breathing room before we see true pressure put towards a Dragon Soul, but it doesn't change the fact that there really isn't that much that they could do against the scaling power of Red Team, especially as Susurration has already outlived their usefulness.
Yeah. It's like everyone on the enemy team right now is kind of fed.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a rough
The
one.
well-farmed Aatrox is 1-0-4, so that's kind of basically fed in this context. 5-3 Udyr, 6-1 Cassiopeia, 7-2 Ashe. Okay, 0-4 Zillion, but I'm not expecting Yarg to be picking up too many kills here left and right.
Yeah, as long as their KP is okay, I think Con Esports are okay with this. And we really actually haven't seen the Zillion's full power in a fight be shown off because they're mostly just ulting themselves. Once Yarg learns how to position a little bit better, Potato Senpai or Sunscorch getting a second lease on life could be all that Con Esports needs to win the game.
Goldly, though, has actually grown. I was about to say, I thought it stabilized a little there, but it has actually done the opposite. We're about at 7,000 gold differential. We got Dragon up in about 20 seconds too here. There's no real super threat of a soul stack coming out just yet because it would be the second dragon for either of these teams, and it would be a kind of pretty late second dragon here.
Yeah,
So
those
you
only things
can-
going to be emphasized by either side. I really think that Con Esports are only going for it if it means that they could find a fight.
Yeah. But, like, if Con Esports can find a fight here and drop the Herald, like, they can really just break the enemy team's ankles. We got Susurration in the top side. Pop Blossom Channel. Look for the Petrifying Gaze.
I think finally they're going to do the damage necessary. Danny's just going to walk this off. Susurration has a full health bar to play with. Potato Senpai kiting for a while, but eventually will fall. And while this is happening, look at the cross map. Con Esports going to be able to get that charge off of Shelly, and they will kill Aerocross. Ivy has to use their ultimate early just to buy a little bit of space for them and Idris. True Shot Barrage going to land, but Shelly still manages to hit the tier 3 tower, and Sir Rizel is going to besiege it alongside Yarg and Sunscorch. Down it goes, and another big jump in the gold lead for Con Esports.
And shifting on in, you do have the homies here. All the meanwhile, there's a split push in the bot lane here by this Aatrox.
All right, well, Alfeade hasn't accessed that many kills just yet, but we still think that they're Gigafed. Let's see whether or not that is actually going to be the case, as now they find themselves in a 1v4. World Ender activated. Here comes Sir Rizel. Ivy going to be popped like a balloon. Yarg on the far side of this one, just looking for the ult to come out. And we use on the Aatrox, and now with Sunscorch rounding the corner, they will once again repel Elysium Dawn as Susurration's flank attempts are once again thwarted.
Oh, that was a flash chrono shift too from Yarg to save their top laner here. There's just
Played
no
like a true support.
Yeah, there's not enough damage. You got one heal cut item here, but that's not doing too much against an Aatrox that's spamming abilities. So you get down 1 kill, you lose this dragon, you're still on the back foot, and you are just still bleeding so much here if you're Elysium.
Are you ready for Aatrox Meta 2 Electric Boogaloo at Worlds?
Yeah, I guess I am. There's even 2, like, it's like 4 at this point.
Oh boy, I cannot wait to relive my trauma of T1 picking Gwen into this champion in finals.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so much fun to watch.
Yeah. It's a whale of a time, as they say. Baron being started up here by Con Esports. They're super far ahead. Got Fed carries here. Contest coming on out. It's only these 3 members. You got the teleport.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow will go wide, and it looks like Elysium Dawn does know that this has the defense that they have to mount, but the problem is there's going to be a struggle to get in here trying to disrupt the Baron take or anything like that.
Occasions.
Senpai zoning like crazy, and here comes Alfeide as well, an absolute monster, keeping watch over this choke point. They continue to keep themselves healthy and ready for the fight.
Baron still being damaged. Okay, now it's peeled off. True Shot Barrage is going to be a fatty chunk there. Everyone's just kind of waiting for the other team to blink. That is a clone. Danny does have a bit of a flank where Danny is getting flanked themselves. Vision at least getting cleared here by Elysium.
There's the approach once again by Sir Rizel. Ivy going to slowly be burned down, will move back towards their side of the map. There's a big wraparound here from Susurration, but while this is all happening, Alfeide is calling the bluff of Elysium Dawn. They're starting to herald a bunch of minions into the mid, looking for that inhibitor.
But everybody is going to back off here from the side of Khan. And Baron is stopped, and you don't lose anyone for it. So nice little play here from the side of Elysium to hold on a little bit longer. You don't get anything too much in return, but the fact that you don't give up the Baron and don't give up anything to stop that Baron is definitely a win in of itself.
Simultaneously, smart calls by Con Esports to not overforce the state of this game. They know they have scaling on their side. They know that the way they lose this is by giving over multiple shutdowns in the span of a few seconds. They just need to slowly pressure this map. The Cloud's going to be so good on the likes of the Udyr and the Cassiopeia, and Elysium Dawn is just going to slowly fall further and further behind the more that they make these dances happen.
Yeah. Elysium definitely going to have to get something to hold on to in this game, have to get themselves a pick or one of these objective bounties available on the map here. To even up the gold a little bit, because they are still 9k down in the pot. And that just makes team fighting near impossible for them. Potentially a fight on the top side here.
Yeah, and that's going to be the World Ender triggered early. And once again, Yark finds themselves caught out. Great little play there from Ivy to lock up the Zillion. They even didn't have the time to use their ultimate, or I guess didn't want to waste it on themselves. But 4v5 now on the map. Elysium Dawn very happy with the situation.
Able to get a free little pick there, free little kill. It's a little bit of gold to even this back on up, but you won't be able to get too much else off of that unless you're able to get another pick here, which I think would be pretty damn hard.
Alfeide, not the healthiest to try to start off a fight or anything like that, but once again, Con Esports are very intent on just trying to break open the enemy base, and they're going to try to pull Elysium Dawn away from that Baron Nashor. But this fight is a little bit split. Sunscorch going to be chased to the ends of the earth by Arrowcross. Pop Blossom landing, Sir Rizel tanking through all of it. Alfeide, a little bit too unhealthy to actually join into the fight. They're relying on Potato Senpai to get here to clean this one up. OP Ivy going to finally die, although on the far side of this one, Ash will fall.
Cost the stopwatch of Susurration, but it is 2 for 1 in the end since you killed that Zillion. However, how low your health bars are, that just opens up your inhibitor here for the taking. That's going to be snatched on up. They are just going to dip on out with that free pressure that is now going to be generated in that mid lane. Look to get themselves soul point or just grab the Baron.
Quite the power play there by Con Esports, knowing they had the ability to go stay for that inhibitor. Now the question is, are they going to stay for the Baron as well? That might be a little bit dicier.
Yeah, Like, you are very far ahead and you can shred it. All in, coming on out.
Let's Bully Yarg, episode 2. They're going to have to go golden. And it looks like that stasis is going to be enough to allow for them to try to find a re-engage. Alfeide going low, pops a World Ender. Here comes the ultimate from Susurration. He's trying to zone out Potato Senpai, but the Ezreal has fallen. Double knocking from Aerocross, but is it enough to keep their team alive? It sure doesn't look like it with Sunscorch once again unscathed in this fight. Ivy, with nowhere to go, is going to be split from the rest of their team, flanked by Sir Rizel. Bramble Smash will be used to knock them back. They're trying to lead them on a wild goose chase, but they have nowhere to run. And now, finally, we see Con Esports move on to the Baron.
Danny is on the flank here, should be spotted out by Yarg. Alright, at least got
cost the Zillion ultimate, but, you know, Nico's gone at this point, and with Rakan on wave clear duty in that mid lane, this is looking mighty rough for Elysium Dawn overall.
Yep. Is that just going to be game here? Everybody is going to be coming back up here by the time you crash on in. Less than 10 seconds till Ivy is back up. Would be Baroned up supers in the mid lane, but you do also have a bunch of gold in the bank after that dub and Baron. So there's just back and spend here, and you can look to spread the pressure across the map and bring the 2-0 on home.
Dragon, not much of a concern for either team at this point. Con Esports and Elysium Dawn both know that this is not going to a soul. They know that whether or not Elysium Dawn is able to mount a defense here is going to be the only deciding factor for the game. Con Esports get ever stronger, and right now they're looking to widen that gold gap beyond the 11,000 milestone.
There's a 4-level gap between these top laners right now.
See if they're able to pretty rough. And Alfeide has the World Ender and the Ashe ultimate at their back. Here comes the Udyr as well. Absolutely pissed off, just running down the enemy team. Ivy trying to frontline, going to have to sacrifice themselves in order to extract the remaining members of Elysium Dawn. And now the siege will begin in earnest on the bot side of the map.
Oh, the
Top
flash
Blossom going to land on the 3 members, and it's right under the tower. Sunscorch might fall here to tower aggro. Has his Zillion ult ticking away on them. Trying to back off, manages to get away from the Nico Q, and yeah, this is about it. Con Esports run a train through the bot lane, and they are aiming for the Nexus turrets.
Yep, it's just formalities at this point. Double inhib on down, you still got the Baron buff on your side. Only 3 members on the enemy team, and you're standing 5 strong. Teleport coming on out here. Alfeide never in any threat in that bot lane play. One last Hail Mary attempt, gonna be thwarted here as the Nexus under siege.
And Con Esports wrap this up. A much cleaner game number 2, not giving Elysium Dawn any breathing room, and they wrap it up in 28 minutes.
Yeah, just kind of smashing on through, holding a pretty definitive lead throughout that entire game. Felt like every single lane won there. And it did take a little bit longer than you might expect, but slow and calculated, able to bring it on home.
Kind of crazy that it was actually Sir Rizel with the most damage on the team for Con Esports. And it was actually Idris as a whole that did more damage than anybody on the winning team. So kind of an interesting dynamic overall. But regardless, as I said before, a win's a win, man. And that happens yet again for Con. And they're going to go into a very comfortable spot within this season.
Yep. Get themselves a comfortable spot here with that 2-0. See if they're able to keep that going towards playoffs.
Well, I think that about does it for us here tonight. I know we are both suffering, we are both sick, and we are both happy to be here, though, to present what has been a crazy series. Elysium Dawn, unfortunately, drop 0-2. They're going to come back next week ever stronger, looking for a way to fight back against the likes of Con Esports and every other team competitive, showing their stuff here in the Blue Otter League Diamond Division. Shoutouts once again to Hugo for being my co-caster, and shoutouts to Wookie Monster, as always, on production, bringing you the cleanest and crispiest stream in the business.